My name is Tawanda Wilson, and I am in the Joyful Living Garden. You see here with me Kimberly, Dixon, and of course this is her wonderful garden. But today I have hijacked her garden and I am actually interviewing her because there are some questions that came up and I wanted to make sure that I went over them with her. So, Miss Kimberly, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic. I was really surprised when you called me or sent me a text saying let's do this garden takeover. But I like this idea. I think this is great because I've interviewed lots of people. Nobody has interviewed me about the garden.
Well, good. I'm glad you actually said yes because I have a lot of questions for you. So we're going to jump right into the questions. But first, what I want to do is just kind of talk about, we all know how let's say, McDonald's started, right? Mm-hmm. We know how McDonald's started. We know how a lot of companies started. So my thought behind taking over the garden was kind of, how did you come up with the name Joyful Living, not just for the garden, but for your business?
Oh, wow. So let me take you back. I guess it was probably about 2010, and I made a vision board. And at that particular time in my life, I was struggling with chronic pain and just struggling in so many different areas of my life. And I made that vision board. Well, several years later, I did a New Year's goal setting workshop, and I took that vision board with me. I wish I still had it. I took that vision board to the workshop. And in the middle of the workshop, I looked down, and in the middle of that board, it said Joyful Living. But when I started my business, I just really wanted something that represented me and something that would not just people that, not that they would like, but something that would resonate with them, something that would be, that you could take on, that you could live, that wasn't just a business, but it was a lifestyle.
You know, I like the word lifestyle. When you say that, I always pop up, right? Lifestyle.
But yeah, so when I looked at that goal setting workshop, I had put that on that vision board just with an idea of what it was that I wanted in my life for myself. And there it was. It hadn't just manifested on a personal level, but it was manifesting in a way that touched and impacted other lives.
Got you. So now let me ask you this then. So with the word joyful, let's break that down. Joyful living. Let's break down the word joy, because I think a lot of people don't really understand what the word joy means, and that joy and happiness they're not the same.
They're absolutely not the same.
So tell me about that with you.
So I recognize that happy is an emotion. One moment we can be happy, one moment we can be sad, and it's fleeting. Where joy is something different. It resides on the inside of us, and it's something that all of us can have, and it's not contingent upon external circumstances. It's not contingent upon what someone else is doing, because it's yours to have if you want it, because it's already in you.
Right. And what do you mean it's already in you?
So I believe that joy, I believe in a higher power. I believe in God. But I believe that we were all created to live in this joy. That regardless of what's going on around us, that we can still have that joy. But many people, we are chasing after external things. We're chasing after happiness. And when things don't go our way, we are unhappy. But when we learn to live in joy and recognize that it is part of us, regardless of what's going on around us, then we live in a different space, and it becomes a lifestyle, as opposed to something that is an emotion that's fleeting, because you can be happy, you can be sad, you can be mad, there are all of these emotions, and people think that you cannot be, you can be joyful when all of those things are going on.
Gotcha. So that was my question. So you're saying that you can have joy, and let's say have something tragic happening in your external life, you can still have joy within yourself.
Absolutely. So this is one thing that I know about joy, and I learned this through my experiences with chronic pain, that you have to pursue it.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it's going to be a second by second kind of thing. But being able to have joy when there are natural disasters going on, you don't walk around skipping through the daisies because something like that happened. And people confuse that. They think when you're joyful that you're happy that something bad happened. No, that's not it at all. What that means is that even in the midst of tragedy, in the midst of chaos, you know how to tap into yourself to find that joy that's already there.
Exactly. And I think that's the big thing that I think people miss is you have to understand who you are. You have to understand what I call the your core identity, right? Your identity doesn't change. You know, it doesn't mean that your values aren't going to change or that situations aren't going to change, but who you are at your very being is always the same. And that's, I feel like, where that joy comes from. Joy is something that it doesn't go away. Like we're supposed to have peace and happiness, right? Or joy, I should say, and then happiness and all that other stuff comes along with it. So I was just very interested on why you chose those words, and I'll tell you honestly, I don't know how I came about it. I was just thinking about you one day, and I'm like, why'd she pick the word joy? Why she pick the word joyful living? And that's kind of what sparked me to give you a call. And so now that we've broken down joy, tell me about living.
Living. Ooh, child, living. So many of us, we reach, as a children, we are living life till its fullest. We are enjoying every second of most days, if you have a happy childhood. But as adults, we forget what living is about. And we are existing.
Why do you think that is?
We take on the responsibilities of the work world, of families, of children, and we start going through the motions. And we're not actually living, we are existing. And there is a big difference in the two. So my epiphany with living came when I was in chronic pain, and I realized that I was suffering every day, and I was just existing. But I didn't just want to live. I didn't want to exist. I wanted to thrive. I wanted to be, just have a full life. And I knew that I wasn't created to live the way that I was living. Even being in pain, I knew that there was something bigger than that and something greater than that.
Very nice. Oh my gosh. So how long did it take you to get to this point? Like, when did that epiphany start happening for you?
This has been a long journey. Because it started, I would say, in my, excuse me, y'all, it's hot out here. She got me sitting on this side, in the hot seat, literally.
In the hot seat.
Because I'm in the sun. But in my 30s, I found out at 32 that I needed my knees replaced. At probably about 37, I was at the end of my rope. I was sad. I was in tremendous amount of pain every day. And I knew from a 20-something-year-old woman that there was a purpose for my life, a big purpose. And I was angry with God one day because I wasn't seeing anything manifesting in my life. I'm like, you told me that I was supposed to be a teacher. I can't walk across the room. How am I going to walk across the campus? Wow. Well, I cried myself to sleep that day. I laid on the couch and cried myself, and I had a dream. I've always been a dreamer, but in that dream, God told me that my pain and my had a purpose to it, and that He was going to use this to help other people. So at that point in my 30s, I was like, okay, great. I can breathe again. I know there's a point to this. And that sustained me for a while. But then when I hit 40, it's still not manifesting. I'm still in a tremendous amount of pain. I know I need my knees replaced. I don't know when that's going to happen. And I found myself sitting on my couch one day with a handful of the Dilaudid pills. Now I have numerous addictions in my family. And in that moment, I looked at those pills, and I knew I could slip away into nothing, or I could fight for my life. So I made a decision that day to throw those Dilaudid pills away. I actually flushed them down the toilet. I know better than to do that now. But it's a process.
Yeah, it's a process.
I didn't know that then, but I knew I had to get them out of my house and out of my sight, because that day was the day that I chose that I wasn't going to just live, I was going to thrive, because I'm like, you don't know when you're going to get your knees replaced. Nobody will give you a date. You're too young. You have to make a decision right now what you're going to do with it. And I chose to live.
And so what did you do different after that moment?
After that moment, I really started to, when things would happen tragically, one, I always ask God two questions. What is it that you want me to learn from this? And how can I use this to help somebody else? And then I actively started really taking note of the journey I had been on and how far I had already come. Because just sitting here in 2010, just sitting there, it seemed like I was stuck in place. But once I started really taking note of the progress that I had made in my life, because while all of this is going on, while I'm all in this pain, I finished my bachelor's degree. I got a master's degree. I started a blog for chronic pain sufferers, talking about mental, physical, and spiritual wellness. And I'm like, wait a minute, Kim. You're thinking you're failing at life, but you are contributing to other people's lives. You are contributing to your own life. So after that, I just really started to take note of the things that had changed in my life and to realize that I wasn't stuck.
So it took you, excuse me, it took you actually sitting back and looking looking at what you had already done and the work that you had already done. You didn't even realize how much work you had actually gotten done that was going to actually be used in the future for you to go down several different roads.
Right, because pain can cloud your judgment. Physical pain, mental pain, and spiritual pain, they all can cloud your judgment. And you don't see sometimes what other people see.
Right.
Because
and you actually see what you want to see, because we're looking to be not just here, but we're always looking for there, and we don't look at the road or the journey that has to get us there.
Right.
And oftentimes we're just like, well, I'm not here, but I'm not here. I'm looking for this type of success. Whatever that success is for anybody, that's kind of where we're looking at. We're not looking at, okay, what am I doing every step of the way to finally get there, and who do you have to become in order to do this? So you have to go through a lot of things to actually get to where it is you're trying to, or where you're going to be, because this is not the end of where you are right
Absolutely
now. This is just a beginning of a new section for you.
It is.
So transition now from where you were with the business to how you actually started Joyful Living Garden and why you did that.
So I'm sure you already know I'm a very spiritually based person. Me and God, we're tight. I always tell people we tight. We talk. So I lived in an apartment at the time, and it was I had a ritual every Saturday morning. I would go up, not every Saturday morning, every morning. I would go outside, I would have my cup of coffee, and I would just look around. I had a tomato plant and a zucchini and a few flowers. And God, that particular day, dropped it in my spirit, said, show this to the people. And I said to myself, show them what? I was like, it's a tomato plant out here. But I got up, I turned my phone on Facebook Live, and started showing the plants to people. And over time, I started, because I'm a certified life coach, I would use the plants to something with the plants to relate it to something in life, and how so many things in this garden are synonymous with the things that go on in our lives. And that was 2 years ago. So on Facebook memory, sometimes something will pop up, an old live that I did, and it'll tell me the date, and I was like, wow, that was April of 2018 or whatever the date may have been. But I look at those with my single little tomato plant.
Do you still have that tomato plant?
I do not. I do not. Okay. I think I killed that one. But I have learned so much in fact that people come to me as an expert about plants now, when I was just doing something that I enjoyed doing. Something that I've always liked plants. I always had a lot of house plants, but I got 2 babies that anything you bring in there they think is yours, and they'll dig it up. So having the plants was just a part of who I am. And when I moved here, I said, I'm gonna do something different. And I planted stuff on the front porch. And then when I planned this lush garden that's around us, the idea was some chairs, a plant on each corner. And now you can hardly get out the door because of the plants. But this garden is so much more than just the plants. It's a sanctuary.
It is.
I come here, I pray, I sing, I do my morning planting. I'm sorry, a spider web just blew across my face. I cannot ignore that. But it is a place of peace, a place of joy, but then it produces all of this food that sustains me physically, that I can give to my neighbors in the neighborhood behind us, my neighbors next door, my friends. So that gives me joy too, to be able to share something that I grew with somebody else. And it's just amazing.
I love it. So I will tell you my story, and then I have one more question for you, and then we'll end out. So after I came to the garden. I'm sure you guys remember. I've been here twice. We did one video here and one out front, and I love. I've been here 3 times. You're right, because I bought my kids. I bought my daughter back too.
Right.
But I love the energy of this place. Like, it just felt so good, and it just felt good to just be out here. And I love that there were not a lot of bugs around, and you were still outside, and you have the shade, the shade screen. And one day I'm just like, I have 3 decks in my house, and I was just kind of like, I want to put something out so I can sit outside. And it was all because I had come to Kim's place and was out here, and so I decided to go and get a screen and just the carpet. Well, I ended up getting a whole bunch of plants, a whole bunch of like
I was so thrilled
herbs.
when you sent me that picture.
And I tell you, I have done the same exact thing, in the sense of like, it's that place to go out and do my meditation. What I actually started was, I wanted to have a space where I could block off from my neighbors, so that I could do some sunbathing and some moon bathing. But then that kind of like turned into like all the other the herbs and stuff that I got out there, because there's just herbs that are out there. But it was because of coming here and just having that, feeling the energy that you had in this place, and I wanted that.
Wow.
And so I decided to do it. I'm not good with plants, and they'll probably all die, and I'll probably have to replace them.
And that's okay. It's like, because I've had
But it's
things
just
that
the
die. I've had
energy.
things that die this year.
Yeah.
But it's a learning process, and it changes something in you. It shifts something.
It did. Just being here for me shifted, and it wanted me. I wanted to have my own space and place where, because I have my altar, in my house, but to be able to go outside and have shade, even when it's really sunny, and still be able to enjoy it, still getting some heat in, but just having just all of nature around.
Right, because I enjoy the heat. It's just sometimes it's
it's
unfair.
too much, right? And so you showed me this. Like, I didn't know that there was even a possibility of having like a screen up there, or having a lot of the herbs and stuff around. So that was something that was just really, I'm just grateful for you for allowing me to have that. And now my kids, my friend came over, and she was like, oh my God, this feels so good. And my daughter goes out there and she sits out there. So you added on to my life, just by sharing your garden with me. So because of that, I hear that there's a new phase going on in the garden. So why don't you tell everybody all the good news that's going to be happening with Joyful Living Garden?
So the Joyful Living Garden is about so much more than just this space here. And we had a conversation previously about expanding this and taking it to a bigger vision. But in order to expand it, I need to start right here where I'm at. So the Joyful Living Garden is actually, actively speaking, corporate sponsors, businesses that are in the wellness industry, that have gardening stores or things of that nature, or anybody who wants to support this, because this isn't about me. This isn't about Kimberly Dixon. It's about the emotional growth that having a space like this does, but it's also about teaching people how to be sustainable. Because you would be amazed at the number of people who have inboxed me, texted me, emailed me, and said, I started gardening again because of you. I got a plant for the first time because of you. And like, I don't have a green thumb, but we're going to work with that. But so we want to take this to bigger heights. There's something greater in store for this, because think about it. 2 years ago, it was a tomato plant and a zucchini that died. Did not give me a single fruit, but I didn't give up on that. And now you see this lushness around you, and it's even bigger than it was when you were here before.
I walked out and I'm like, oh, it's bigger out here. So everything has grown, and it just looks beautiful. It's you really do like have limited space, but it's growing, and it's so good, because that means that everything that it needs is getting. Right. It's growing, and that's kind of what we have to do in life. Like, we have to grow. We're going to change. We're going to be different, and that's what you did. Even with the story that you just gave, like where you were, you've grown from that, and you've evolved into who you are and what you're doing, not just for yourself but for other people, and that's just amazing.
Right. So the mission of the Joyful Living Garden is to touch as many. I always wanted to be a person of impact and influence, and this is a way where I can impact my community, but I can also impact your family. But in order to do that, we need resources. So, the garden needs supplies. We're in the planning stages now. I did a live yesterday on planning and preparation for the fall garden, the things that we'll be planning, and just showing people about, here in North Carolina, we're in Zone 7B. We can plant things 3 seasons out of the year.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
The winter is limited, but there are things that you can still grow. Like garlic, for instance, takes 9 months to grow.
Does it really?
You plant it in October. Yes.
Oh, I might try that.
So that's one of the things that I'll be planting later on, but you won't harvest it till late spring, early summer of next year.
Okay.
But this garden is about teaching people how to, just the way I learned, but I want to share that knowledge with others. But in order to bring this to other people, we need resources.
Sure.
And we can get that with corporate partnerships. So we are offering an opportunity for people to become sponsors of the Joyful Living Garden. I got so many Joyful Living stuff. I got on my Joyful Living t-shirts today. But we want people to be a part of this. And to be able to share this with others, and to be able to get the resources that we need. So that we can continue to support others in their journey. Because I would love to see other families do the same thing that I've done here, just with a little bit of guidance. And that guidance I've been giving people for 2 years.
Yeah, and we need it because of the time of time where we are right now in this world. Like having your own, some of your foods that you can just garden yourself is essential.
It's absolutely essential.
And especially we have no idea where things are going. So to be able to plant and harvest your own food is essential. So you're
one of the things I learned, I saw a social media post about things closing down when the stay-at-home orders were in place, and a young lady had commented, "What's the big deal? We can just go to Trader Joe's." And people laughed at her and they mocked her and they made such fun of her. But seeing that, it made me sad more than anything, because people don't realize where their food comes from. They just think they go in the grocery store and they get it. But if we don't teach our kids where our food comes from. I posted a picture, you saw the picture of the pinto bean, or I showed it to you in person. People went bananas over that because they had never seen a pinto bean outside of a bag in a grocery store, and that's not where it comes from.
Yeah, so I think that's good. That's a very good point, that we have to understand we have to start re-educating, and if they can get it from you, then why not? Right? Especially that information, and when you make it sound so easy, like you made it sound so easy to kind of care for everything while I was here, and I'm like, oh, I could do that. I could do that. Now I'm not having as much success, but and again, I started a little different than you. I went to the store and got things that were already planted. Where you're planting
some of this is transplants. It's a plant that is already a plant that has already had some growth to it. That's called a transplant. Some of the stuff out here is from seeds. Some of it is transplant.
Gotcha.
So that's one of the things, the beauties about gardening is it doesn't matter how you start. It's like I am an expert. I'm gonna call myself an expert at this because I've been doing it a few years now. But it's not cheating if you don't start with seeds. I started some things with seeds in the spring and in the fall, because I had some success with it. I had some failures, but I knew that I wasn't going to give up on this, and I wanted to continue to do it. So with the fall, I'm doing more seeds, but I'm also going to do some transplants too. It's less expensive to do it from seeds. You can get a pack of seeds for as little as 25 cents up to several dollars, depending on where you get it from. But a transplant, a single plant, may be $3 or $4. So it's much less expensive to start from seeds. But for somebody who hasn't done any kind of garden, it's a little easier to start with a transplant. I still haven't started a tomato from a seed yet because I don't know what to do with that.
Gotcha.
But I'm excited to learn about this stuff. Where I am today, eons from where I was in the spring when I was out here, like, okay, y'all, I'm planting all this stuff.
We'll see.
I don't know what's going to happen with it.
Good. So let me ask you this. So if someone is interested in actually sponsoring or becoming a partner with you, what do we do? How do we get in contact?
You can email me at joyfullivingwithkd@gmail.com. It's the best way. Or you can inbox me on any social media. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube. So any of it is Joyful Living Kimberly Dixon, and you can find me that way.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to take over the garden. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm sure she'll be back with you soon with some great information. We're going to end the video now, Any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and we will definitely check them and be with you guys. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.